Have you ever stopped to consider what is your purpose in life? For a long time, uh, even when I was making so much money as a young man in my 20s, one of the things that I always wondered was, why was I created for? All of a sudden, I felt when I was younger that we came from Cuba, had no money. I felt that if I made X amount of money, or if I became rich, or if I became famous, then I would truly find my purpose in life. I could do this, I could do that. Truth of the matter is, I was making millions of dollars at the age of 21. And what I did discover was that the more money I made and the more that I possessed and the more power I accumulated, the more miserable that I was. You see, we all at one given moment in time lay down in bed and we look at the ceiling. And maybe that time we might not, wonder like, do I like what I see? But then we get up in the morning and we look in the mirror. And sometimes we got to look in really, really hard and close and ask ourselves, do I really like what I see? Is my life really going where I plan it to go? Or do I even know? Or do I even care? Where am I going? Or what am I going to do? It is very, very sad, but it is the reality of life. I've asked a lot of people, what is your purpose in life? And honestly, unless they give you like a quick BS answer, many of us really, really don't know. So if we don't know what is our purpose in life, what were we created for? Think about this for a minute. There's no two fingerprints alike. Therefore, that means that we are created so differently and so special by an amazing creator that we need to ask ourselves why. I mean, if we look at our lives and we really meditate upon the fact that if we consider joy and pain and hurt in our life, we'll suffer a lot more than we will have joy. Why? Because that's just how life is. We're going to bury our parents, bury loved ones, and God forbid that we bury a child. So, life is really, really tough. And life, sometimes just makes us wonder why. As we see so many people taking their lives, some of us just say, wow, they're just selfish, they're this, they're that. But truth is, no, they're not. Is that they've reached a point in their life where they feel like they have no purpose for living. I remember a little girl one time taking her life and leaving her parents a note saying, Mom, Dad, don't blame yourself. No reason for living is my reason for dying. Think about that for a minute. In a world where kids have so much, where this young lady has so many opportunities, she was bright, brilliant, great mom and dad, great home, or so I thought. The only answer for her pain was to take her lives. And it happening a lot. It happened, exponentially more during this pandemic. As we were just closed up and people wondering like, man, will this ever end? Or why am I suffering so much? I mean, you know what? Let me just take myself out. And if I commit suicide, if I kill myself, then I stop the pain. Truth is, it doesn't stop anything. It just stops the pain for you, perhaps. And that's a real pain. But it doesn't stop the pain for so many that you're going to leave behind. That are going to wonder what they did wrong. Or why they didn't do wrong. Or why they were not enough for you. I know that. I've been at that point in my life as a young man. Everybody praising me and everybody telling me how great I was, yet I was miserable. I didn't, I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of things, and I pretended to be very happy, and I pretended that my life was great. But when I looked at that mirror, I didn't like the George I see. I didn't like him at all. And then I wonder, how do I change that? I'm not going to tell you that it's going to take a situation as tragic as mine, where I was arrested, taking everything I had, locked up in a jail, looking at the possibility of never getting out, to really find the meaning for my life. And it was very, very interesting. It didn't happen overnight. It happened over a period of time. But if I was to say what was the key moment, or what was the key thing that began to give me meaning, was when I took the focus off of me. I recently talked to a young man that I love a lot and a great guy. And he knows that he believes he had parents that affirmed in him that he was created to do great things. And he's very, very talented. And yet he looks at his life that it is now where he's at. And he just doesn't feel like he's much of a human being. See, the thing is, because we focus so much on what we don't have, that we never ever focus on what we really have. Something as simple as freedom. Your freedom. The pandemic might give people just a little glimpse of what loneliness is, of what losing your freedom is. At least you had Netflix. At least we had Netflix, and at least we had so many things to pass the time. Many of us were locked up with people that we love. I mean, for me, it was nothing. I spent 10 years, many years in solitary. So, listen, this pandemic was a breeze, but it was real and it was painful for a lot of people. And I really am cognizant of that. So, when I took the focus off of me, and when we take the focus of what we don't have, when we're going through very difficult and real issues in our life, and it seemed like we're in this dark box and we're looking for a shred of light to get out. And when we don't find it, then we lose it. And then we just reach that point in our lives that we just figure, hey, you know what? It's just better to check out. I'm here to tell you that it's not. And that there is hope for you. And that there is the ability to find that meaning. And sometimes what we need to do, instead of focusing on what we don't have, is focus on what we have. So some of you might say, yeah, it's easy for you, George, because you're a millionaire. Yeah, I understand that. But I didn't find the meaning for my life when I reinvented myself and made $1 million. No, I found the meaning for my life actually when I went from being a multi-millionaire worth over $60 million to not having a dollar for a chocolate candy bar in a prison cell. See, I took the focus of what I didn't have anymore, which was all my $1 million cars, my airplanes, my multi-million dollar ranch, my horses, all these amazing things that I had, mansions, that people just think that once they get them, they're going to be happy. When I took the focus off of that and realized that, I am alive. So many of us in the cartel are dead. I get to live another day. I get to make a different choice for my life. I get to reinvent myself. I get one day to give hope to people. I get one day to share the story how God changed my heart and took me from being a person that didn't give a damn about anything or anybody to being a person that really loved others and care about the life of others. Life is tough. And I don't know what the answer to many of people's problems is that are very real. Moms trying to figure out how to feed their child and go to work, or how to take care of their child when there's no daycare, or other people dealing with this horrific pandemic. Many people having lost their job, their future investments. Others losing their children and their loved ones. Others not being able to say goodbye to a loved one as they die from COVID. Those are very real. And I don't have answers for those. I don't have answers for many. The only thing that I do have an answer for is what I did. When all of a sudden they told me that, my dad was about to die and I might not get to bury him, I took the focus off of that statement. And then you know what I focused on? The amazing time that we had, father and son. The many times that he was in my life. The many times that we struggled together and how we work hard just to be able to put a plate of food in our table. I focused on that. I didn't focus on that I might not see him again. I focused on the fact that I might not see him on this earth, but I was guaranteed eternal life and I will see him again. And for those of you that just don't believe that to be real, well, then you know what? We're going to be fertilizer like you. And then, it doesn't matter at the end. But, that's what I began to focus on. I began to focus on that there was a future. I began to thank God for my health, that I had 2 eyes, that I could read and become better. For another day, I began to thank God for the prison cell, where I had time to study and to focus on becoming a better person without the distractions of people begging me for money that I didn't have to give anymore. It isn't easy, and it doesn't just being able to focus on others and not on yourself doesn't make the world just become perfect. but it starts to give us different meaning, you know? I remember seeing this young man in prison having to go to the bathroom in a bag, and we would have long conversations. And I remember him telling me, George, if I can just take a crap like you, I'd be the happiest person on earth. I laughed it off. I didn't think much of it. I would just laugh. But when I would be by myself and I would be thinking about that, it was amazing to realize that I was blessed. I could go to the bathroom normally. I could pee like a normal person. I didn't have to carry a bag to change. I began to thank God for that. I began to thank God when I went to bed for the day He gave me, that I studied and learned. And every time I opened the book, I knew that I became that much smarter and that much better. And I began to thank God that my time would pass so quickly in that prison cell, and that I get to live another day. Think about that. We get to live another day. That in itself is just an amazing blessing, because that other day, not guaranteed by anyone or anything. So, my dear friends, try to think about the meaning and the purpose for your life. Think about it, because if you begin to find the purpose for your life, you'll begin to see that your mindset will change and you begin to live a more fulfilled life. But while you don't find a meaning or have a purpose for your life, then you just live an empty life and you just go through life, and before you know it, you're gone. Every choice we make, remember what I say, every choice we make becomes part of our story. And one day others will tell our story. So the question becomes, will they tell a good story or a bad story? It doesn't matter what has happened in that story up to now. What matters is what you do from now forward to make that a better story. So that when your kids tell your grandkids about their grandfather, they'll tell a good story. Or their grandmother, they'll tell a good story. And the good story doesn't mean that you reach wealth and power or any of that stuff. It's that you were a decent human being, that you were a person of integrity, that truth mattered to you, that you were a friend to your friends, that you were intentional about spending time with your loved ones, and that you were there for your kids, and that you spend time with them, quality time. See, we think that our kids need all this. Truth of the matter, they don't. The biggest thing our children need is our presence, to be there for them, so they know that their father or their mother cares for them. If you give that to your children, and guess what? It costs nothing. Trust me, you'll be giving them the greatest gift they could ever receive. So find the meaning and purpose for your life. I know it will be a good life. And think about the blessings that you have right now. Don't focus on what you do not have. Focus on what you have. Focus on your strength, the gifts that God has given you, because He's given all of us a lot of gifts. When you focus on those gifts, you don't waste time worrying about what you don't have. Then you start making plans for what you will have. So find the purpose and meaning for your life. And then one day, when the story of life is told, it will be a great story. Be blessed. Have a wonderful day.